Welcome. My name is Barbara Marcum and we're with Friendship Focus. Today we're taking the opportunity to introduce our mayor, Michael P. Londeau. And I'm very excited to do this. I did this a while ago, and I wanted to take this opportunity so that the public and the seniors can get to know you, who you are and what kind of person you are and what's important to you. So tell us a little bit about your life. Do you like to barbecue? Do you like NASCAR? I mean, do you have any favorite sports teams?
How much time do we have? Because I'm a talker, so
it's all right. We got a little bit of time.
First, thank you, Barb, for having me on the show. I appreciate everything you do for our seniors and everything you do for the community. You wear many hats besides just the seniors, but finally get to see your studio and you got your personal touch in here. So first of all, thanks for having me on. Talk a little bit about myself. So I'm 44 years old, lifelong resident of the city of Westland. I've been here my whole life. I still live in the house that I grew up in, right behind Elliott Elementary School, where I went to elementary school. I went to Adams Junior High over on Palmer Road, and then graduated from Wayne Memorial High School. So I'm a product of the Wayne Westland School District. You asked questions about what I like. So I'm a big sports fan. Grew up playing sports in the WIAA for the Westland Meteors, and played baseball over at Central City Park, JC Park, Foss Park. Just very active as a young adult, or excuse me, a young boy. And I'm really big into football. I love Michigan football, University of Michigan football, and I do love to cook. So if you ever want me to come in and do a cooking show, I'd love to do that as well.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that, and we will do that.
Great.
Okay, what made you decide to go into politics?
So I get that question a lot, and it really started off just being active in the community, whether it was from volunteering, serving on different boards and commissions. I got involved originally with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. You remember our Parks and Rec Director, Brian Harnos. He encouraged me to serve on that board because at the time, this was years ago, our soccer fields were in pretty bad shape over at Central City Park. We know we've had some issues there with, it was built on a former city dump,
right.
So we've had some environmental issues over there. So no fault necessarily to the city, but we had some issues over there. And I had some parents and some friends of mine that their kids played in the soccer league and asked me to get involved. Did I know anybody in the city? I said, actually I do. I go Brian Harno. So got with Brian and he said, I love your passion. You think about serving on a board. So I started with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Mayor Weil was gracious enough to appoint me to that board. And then long after I got the itch, I said, I want to do more. What else can I do for the city? And I was appointed to serve on the Westland Downtown Development Authority. For those that are at home that may not know what that means, there's a taxing jurisdiction along Ford Road, all of Ford Road, so basically from Vinoy to, I believe, Lotz or Hannon, and then from Ford Road to Glenwood on Wayne Road. So all the businesses or residents in those districts pay taxes to the DDA. And those taxes go to things like Blues, Brews, and Barbecue, street lighting, the banners that go up, the snowflakes that go up, all the beautification that goes up. I mean, they do a tremendous amount of work in the city. So that really got my juices flowing, and I'm sure we can talk more about how I got involved in politics. But
well, the interesting thing is, you volunteered and being on a board, and you literally, when we did over at Heinz Park, we did Westland Senior Olympics, and that was way before. I mean, that was early on, and you were there way before you even decided to consider council or any of that. And I just know what you've been at the Friendship Center for years and years, but I'm hearing things all over the city that you with youth assistance and with this program and that program, it seems like you've had a great deal to do with a lot of the things that are going on in your own town, and I love that. It seems that volunteering is hugely important to you. So, I mean, what started all that? I mean, you're all over.
I've always been really active. I don't want to say I was the class clown in school, but I was always really active within, trying to fit in and be the popular guy in school, and then just getting involved in different things in school. I talked about sports, but really got me involved. My mom had cancer, breast cancer, years ago, and I started serving on the, this might be tough. Started serving on the Relay for Life. She actually got me involved in it first. So I would come up and walk the midnight laps and stuff, the survivor laps and everything. And then, unfortunately we lost her in 2003. So.
You know what? That is really tough. I know, and that's why it's so important. Like with us and all the things that we do with educational television, that's exactly why we do that, because it's so important to educate people and it's really tough. We deal with a lot of things as people get older,
Mm-hmm.
and losing a spouse or parent. My dad's 95. I take care of him. I know exactly what it's like, so it's very painful. But you know what? Having that family connection, and I will say this as well, it's not just caring about the community. Having long-term friends, family connections, and all of those things are really important. And I know that you have all those things. That says a lot about who you are.
One thing I will say, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I
no.
got my composure back. One thing I have a problem with is saying no to people. So you talked about youth sports, you talked about youth assistance, giving back to the community. I mean, I volunteer long hours, weekends, holidays, doing announcing for, I got the announcer voice if you haven't noticed, doing announcing for the Westland Youth Athletic Association football games, doing, when Mayor Wild was here, doing his charity hockey game with the Detroit Red Wings alumni. So I was the on-air ice announcer, doing stuff that I was passionate about. And I always tell people that ask how they can get involved or want to volunteer, is just follow your passion. If you're passionate about, you mentioned NASCAR. If you're passionate about NASCAR, find a hobby that involves or volunteering with NASCAR. If you're passionate about cancer, because cancer affects us all,
Yes.
be involved with cancer. I was always involved with, still involved with Toys for Tots and the Westland Goodfellas as well. So there's could list a million things. I could have WLND scroll all the things that I've been involved with, but it's not about me. It's about who we're helping. So.
It is about who you're helping, but it is also about who you are. So that's really important, I think. Okay, we have a lot of people in politics who don't provide everything that they say they're going to do, and it's. But what we're going to really ask you about is problem solving. Okay, so sometimes things go up in the city. There's a problem that happens, and usually it's sudden. What kind of rationale do you use? How do you do your problem solving? It's like, how do you go from process, this is the problem, to the end result?
So you just started my question or my answer for me. You start from the beginning and you track back to wherever the problem began, and you just track through everything. You do active listening. I know I like to talk, but you got to listen to what people are saying and take really good notes. And my staff here does a fantastic job of taking really good notes and having a paper trail for everything so we can get to the root of the problem. And, when you call the mayor's office, and I always encourage people to call the mayor's office, and you've answered our phones there as well. I might say it a few times, but I want people to know they can feel comfortable calling the mayor's office. Our telephone number is 734-467-3200. If you want to email us, you would rather not call, you can email us at mayor@cityofwestland.com. We're your one-stop shop. If you have a question about a city thing, if you feel more comfortable calling us about a county issue or a state issue, we may not be the subject matter experts in county and state issues, but we know the person to call. And our call goes a long way when it's coming from Mayor Londeau's office to reach out to these folks to try to get your problem solved.
Mayor, I've been with the city for a long time. And being able to call the mayor's office and know that somebody is listening, and we got a lot of calls, okay, at my center, but here as well. Like you said, I've answered the phone here, and it's like I would never dream of calling the mayor's office for that. But as a department head, anytime there's a senior thing, they say call Barb Marcum. I try to do whatever I can. If I can solve the problem, I solve the problem. If I can't, I refer to somebody who can. So that's always a really wonderful thing to know that residents are welcome to call you. So I think that's really, really important.
You're our superstar. You're our special teams player. When we really need something done, we call Barb Marcum, because I'm going to tee you up here real quick, but you do so much more than just run the senior center. You're heavily involved with Meals on Wheels, with welfare checks. I mean, I didn't find that out until about 3 years on council. You don't promote that. That's something that you kind of tell one-on-one, or I found out from one of your employees, Matt. He said, we're out checking on residents. I said, what do you mean you're checking on residents? That's her job? And I don't mean that no disrespect. I meant like she does that as part of her daily. Yeah, that's part of her daily thing, and she does it off hours as well. It's really important to her. And I said, wow, that's fantastic. I might even mention it during one of our sessions or budget session. I said, to the rest of the council that doesn't know this is something that Barb does just out of her own compassion and kindness of her heart.
When there's a senior and they have no one else and they call you, and I'm working on 3 cases right now And when somebody calls you and there's nowhere to go, they don't have adult children who can help them, and they're in a critical situation. I mean, I'm all about paperwork. I love to get my newsletters out and all those things, but people have always been more important to me than administrative duties. So I'll get those done, but if I find out that I need to go somewhere today, do adult protective services or start people on a program, or, try to help them get out of this situation, people always come first for me. And so it's not part of my job. It's never was part of the people who came before me. But for me, it is part of my job because people are more important, I think. And I think you feel the same way.
I do, and I'm glad we got to get that out there because a lot of people may not know that. And if you want to be anonymous, you could reach out to Barb directly, and we don't share personal information. We don't share personal stories.
Everything's confidential.
You didn't tell me whose house you went by. I'm not going by Nancy's house or what have you. I just knew you were going to visit a senior that needed help, and I can't thank you enough for that.
Well, thank you. It's what I love, you
Yeah.
know. Okay, so when I wrote my questions originally, you did a little show on your initiatives, okay? And so I was really impressed by that. Can you go over what those initiatives are and why they're such a priority for you?
Sure, and I hope you don't mind. I have a little cheat sheet because I want to make sure, these are very important. I want to make sure the residents at home know that we've listened to them. We've thoughtfully thought these programs out. We've vetted them. We've done a lot of homework on this before we announced any of these. So initiative number 1 is the leaf pickup program. And what that means, Barb, I know, what that means is we're going to re-implement the bulk leaf pickup program by the fall of 2023. So this year, when this show is airing, we're going to have that done this year. So what that means is the city trucks are going to come by when you could rake or blow your leaves into the street, and we're going to suck them up just like we used to years ago. And it's a service that maybe we took for granted years ago. I've lived here my whole life. I loved it. When I was out talking to residents, they
loved
asked
it
me
too.
all the time, when can we bring it back? And it wasn't due to anything with the prior administration. They did everything in their power to keep that program, but inflationary issues, we had a recession that Mayor Wild had to deal with. They made tough decisions, and that was one of the tough decisions they had to make, but we're bringing it back, and we're really excited. I know Mayor Wild's really excited too, because he's still a resident. Number 2 is staying with the trash theme, is bulk pickup. We're going to streamline our bulk pickup process in order to make it more customer friendly and simpler to navigate. So what I mean by that is, if a senior or any resident in the city, puts out a couch, right now there's like 3 or 4 different ways that they can get that couch picked up. They could call my office, 734-467-3200. They could call Priority Waste, our trash hauler. They could go on our cityofwestland.com website and fill out a ticket. Everybody has smartphones and tablets. They can go on our Westland Click and Fix app. And can you see the marketing background? I'm putting plugging all of our systems.
Yeah.
They can go on the Click and Fix app and put it through. But while all those systems are great, they're not perfect, and not all systems are working, together in sync. And we'd have missed pickups, which means we'd have upset residents or unhappy customers. So we're going to simplify the process and just go back to if you have a bulk item, you're going to put it out on the curb. Your 96 gallon bin for trash and recycling will still be your number 1 source for trash and recycling. However, if you have a love seat or a couch or a coffee table you need to put out, just put it out on your regularly scheduled day, and our guys will come pick it up, or our team will come pick it up at no charge to the resident.
That's great.
It's great. Actually, real quick on that. So when we used to do it, so going back, I've been a lifelong resident, we would put stuff out and they just pick everything up. Well, again, due to budget and inflationary issues, we had bulk pickup where you had to pay per item. You may remember that. On my time on council, working with the administration, we waived that fee, but you still had that clunky process that I just talked about. So we're streamlining it, making it really easy for people to get their bulk items picked up. Number 3, which I think is really big, Mayor Wild had a very successful neighborhood makeover program where we went through all corners of the city and had a checklist of items that they'd be looking for. So everything from jetting sewers to checking sidewalks to changing stop signs, changing the street signs, trimming trees, knocking on doors and asking residents, because they see us out there, what else do you need done in the neighborhood? Is there anything that we're missing here? What we identified is that we have a lot of unsafe and hazardous walkways, pedestrian walkways and sidewalks in front of these homes. So what we're going to do is start the neighborhood makeover program again. We're going to call it NMP 2.0, where we'll be implementing the next phase and digging deeper into neighborhood improvement needs with an augmented plan which emphasizes identifying any and all deficient or hazardous sidewalks in Westland. So if you have a deficient sidewalk in front of your house, we're going to find it, and we're going to replace it at no cost to the homeowner. Number 4, the Westland Shopping Center. Everybody asks us, what are you doing with the mall? What can we do with the mall? There's a lot of different things. And I won't get too deep in this one because there is some, there's a lot of complexities to it.
Yeah.
There's 3 different owners, right? So we're trying to track down all this information. But what I thought was important was that we put a task force together and just see what are our options there. Can we buy the mall? Can we work with the mall to lease different places and use it for maybe a rec center or for just various different resources.
Right.
There's a lot of property there, not just the mall itself, a lot of parking out front. There's a lot of outlets that could be valuable to us. You know, we're building this city center park right there. We're trying to tie in all the information. So my administration is putting together a task force to explore the possibility of purchasing the mall. Number 5, and the last one will be, we're going to explore any and all opportunities for a recreational complex to be constructed on the city-owned property along Ford Road. What I mean by that is the former City Hall site and Bailey Center. People have been asking for a rec center for a long time. Those may or may not know the city working in tandem with the Wayne Westland Community School District and many other partners, including the YMCA. We're thinking of transforming a former Marshall Upper Elementary on Bayview into a state-of-the-art recreational facility. Won't get too much in the details with that. I wouldn't call it a failed project. It didn't make financial sense for the city. Mayor Wild really wanted to see that project through. The city council wanted to see that project through, but ultimately we answer to the residents, and it wouldn't have been a good financial decision for our city. And I'm not afraid to stand up and say we chose not to do it. But we owe it to our residents to at least explore the possibility of a recreational complex somewhere in our city. Why not right there at Ford Road in Carlson, where we have the farmers market, where we have the Central City Pond, which is going to be opening here soon, so you can let your friends at Taylor Towers know.
Yeah.
We have the walking paths, we have the soccer fields, we have the Mission to Mars playground structure coming, which is an all-inclusive, ADA compliant play structure. There's just endless, a skate park for roller skating and for skateboards and bicycles. We have endless possibilities there. Why not explore the possibility of a recreational complex there? So those are my 5 key initiatives. I have a lot more priorities. Obviously, public safety is up there. We got to make sure we have a safe city. Senior services, I always advocate for senior services to make sure you guys have everything you need over there to make sure we're keeping our seniors
Huge
active.
supporter.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Yes.
You're at all of our events, always have
Yeah.
been, and we really appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
We do. You help out a lot.
Thank you.
I have one question based on one thing about your initiatives. If somebody has a very dangerous sidewalk or it's up, this far where
Yeah.
somebody could trip and fall, can they just call and report it at the mayor's office? Because I know we got a lot of neighborhoods and it's going to take some time, but you really want to get the most dangerous ones done.
It is, and we've identified some of those now, pardon me. But we'll be out there. We're going to be in your neighborhoods more than ever before. This is a big initiative for me. It's a never before done initiative here in Westland, at least. We're going to be out there. There's going to be information coming out as well. We're going to send a letter to homeowners so they know the identification of the folks that are coming out and identifying these sidewalk gaps. They might mark up your sidewalk and whatnot. If you see them out there, you can ask them what they're working on. And then once we've identified the sidewalk gaps or the problems, we'll also contact the homeowner again and say, you may have seen some identifying marks out there, maybe X's or whatnot, that we've identified it. We're replacing it at no cost to you. So there's going to be plenty of information out there. I'm big on transparency and information. I'm an information junkie myself, and I feel like you got to share the information with people so they know what's going on. So don't be alarmed when you see people out there checking on the sidewalks. But if you have one that you kind of know what you're getting at, if you have a deficient sidewalk that you want us to take a look at sooner, reach out to the mayor's office, 734-467-3200. We could dispatch the Department of Public Service over there to take a look.
Well, I'm really impressed with all of the listening that I know that you've been doing, because I've been hearing throughout my history. I have been with the city for 25 years now. And so throughout my history too, I've been hearing some of the same things that you've been hearing from residents. And all of the things that you mentioned are things that people have been talking about, and I just can't, it's wonderful that you've been listening, because part of the problem with, I'm not going to say all government, but sometimes you get an official and they promise the world and they don't produce. And so I think it's important, and I think you probably do too, that you're not a lip service politician. Why is that important to you? Because I know it is.
Oh, it's very important. Ultimately this is an elected position, so we work for the residents, and it's a job interview 24/7, 365 days a year. And when your election cycle comes up, if you're not doing a good job, they're gonna get rid of you. So I always tell everybody I'm we're all graded on our actions, but also our inactions. It's fine if you have a perfect attendance and you show up to every council meeting, but if you're not doing anything to benefit the residents of the city, the residents are going to see right through it. So I feel like I got a track record of success and being able to work with people, and while we may disagree, we've had a couple heated council meetings once in a while. I always try to remain calm and professional and listen to what my colleagues had to say. And while I may not like it, they have a right to speak. They have a right to share their opinion. That's why we have discussion during council meetings. And I value their opinion. That's the reason why there's 7 council members as well. You need diversity, not only just diversity with representation, but diversity with thought as well.
Yeah, I've seen some of the council meetings, and they can get.
They've gotten better. They've gotten a lot better lately.
Oh, well, yes, they have. I just, it's nice that there's a forum. It's nice that there's some interaction. It's nice that they give you some things to think about, because making decisions is not always easy, and not everybody's going to be happy about it. You're going to have some people who aren't. Yeah. But that's just part of the job.
It is.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you about what you think your strengths are, your biggest strengths. What do you think your biggest strengths are?
That I talk a lot. No, really, I do. I pride myself on being an active listener, really listening to what people are doing. Reading a lot of information, whether it's when I was a council member, reading through my packets very thoroughly. Sometimes our packets were anywhere from 100 to 300 pages. So, right. A lot of information. There's contracts in there. But I also know that I'm not an expert in all these fields, so I lean on the expertise of our department heads to ask questions. And I've always had a good relationship with our department heads, which, let me just mention that real quick. So when I took office, we had a staff meeting that you may or may not, you were at the staff meeting.
I was.
The energy in the room was incredible, and I vowed to, I'm all in. I left a job of 18 years, not sure if we'll get in that, but I left a job of 18 years, a very successful career, to take on this job to be the CEO of my hometown. And I told the staff, I'm all in. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm in it to win it, and I want you guys all in as well. I got their buy-in, and like I said, I'm happy to say that I've retained everybody, and there's an energy around this building that I haven't seen in a lot of years.
It's just important because, you're at the top of the pyramid. So important having, your department heads function well. What do you expect of them? I mean, it's like everybody has a different idea about, do you want them to be an example for this? Or what do you, when you think of what are their responsibilities, what are the most important things to you in your department heads?
So I really want to give a lot of credit to former Mayor William R. Wild. I learned a lot from him, a lot. I mean, he was an incredible leader.
Yeah.
And I watched closely and carefully at how he handled himself, how he paused and listened to people and answered questions and was very thoughtful with his answers. I watched how he led with people. I saw how he interacted with folks at, whether it be community gatherings or community events. And then obviously I'd see him often with the staff, but I wasn't in those staff meetings. I didn't have that level of, I was a council member, right? So I just see how he treated his staff like with the utmost respect. And I tried to carry on that legacy as well, and I demand respect from them as well. Professionalism, and obviously integrity is number one. You got to have integrity, because we work for the people. Their tax dollars pay our salaries, and they're paid well, but at the end of the day, you work for the people, and you have to be able to be professional and serve with integrity.
Yeah, the one thing that I hate, like if I call somewhere and they say, oh, let me transfer you to here and then transfer you to here, and no, I can't help you, let me transfer you to here, and you can't get any help. That's why I think it's really important to have department heads who interact with the residents. And sometimes, I get really busy. Like you said, I wear a lot of hats and do shows and have events and city events and whatever, but I really try to, and I may miss a call, and if people call me back, I'm usually on it. And I think residents have always been so good to me. And I think interacting with the community is part of what you do as a department.
Yes.
So I try, and I don't really see this happening in this city, transferring around. And it's like, if you can handle it, you handle it.
Yeah.
But anybody who's over 50, they go, call Barb.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, they do a really good job. And
Yeah.
like I said, we document everything. We document every call. To make sure it gets routed appropriately. And
I know in the mayor's
my staff
office
follows up like no other.
You're right.
In my prior job, I used to get frustrated with okay, I have a customer A that needs this situation done. I won't go into details. And then I had to follow up on it with one of my other staff members later that day or a week from now. And then I got to follow up again. So I used to call it, I hate that I have to follow up to the follow up to the follow up. But here, it's incredibly important because it's our residents, right? It's our residents that need something done. They need help with something. So I'll see the follow-up. I'll see the next follow-up, and then I know if I need to step in. Before I came down here, I had talked with the residents about needing lights over at Central City Park. She wanted lights on the soccer field, and whatnot. So I explained to her the situation. I had my Parks Director, Kyle Mulligan, who's fantastic. He was right there to talk with her and explain the situation of why we can or why we can't and what it would look like if we were able to. So just communication.
Well, I think as a team, like you said, wanting respect and demanding respect and integrity and all of those things, I think, being a part of a team, it's like I do call on other directors as well. If I have a senior with a problem and they've tried, and so I think working as a team, and when all of the departments work together and they're all doing their jobs, the wheel goes round. And I mean, I just think, and it's really important to have a leader who listens to the residents and who has, and you go to work every day and you know that somebody has the same vision that you do for the city, the same work ethic, and I think that's truly important.
And our team is strong. I mean,
it
again,
is.
The staff, we talk about the staff meeting. We did a little icebreaker thing to kind of, I figured everyone was a little nervous. A new guy comes in, and not new to the city, but new into that chair. So we did a little icebreaker thing, and it was the smiles on everybody's faces just to try to lighten the mood a little bit before we got down to the business of the city. But really, we have a tremendous team here, and I'm so lucky to have all you guys in place, and I couldn't do without you. That's just all I got to say.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because when you came into the staff meeting, a lot of people know you.
Do you want to tell the story? You want me to? Because this is pretty funny.
Which one are you going to tell?
Well, I come into the staff meeting, I got kind of a half clap, like golf clap, and then one of the staff members was like, "Come on, it's the new mayor." So everybody said, "Hang on, let me walk out. Let's try that again." I walk back in, everybody's just laughing and clapping really hard. It's like, I'm in it for the cause, not the applause, but it was a funny, lighthearted moment.
Okay, well, what I was thinking is, and when we were in there and we were all talking, it was, you're so familiar with all of us because you've been in the city for so long as a resident and involved.
It was comfortable
No, I
for
don't
us.
think anybody was nervous at all.
I was nervous.
Well, it was the first time, and you walk into a room and there are a lot of expectations on both sides, but I've got to tell you, and I'll be honest with this, all of the directors, when you walked in, we were pleased as punch that Mayor Londeau is our new mayor.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for, making it easier for us too. Leadership is always, you don't know what someone expects. So, but knowing you for so long, and you've been so much a part of everything, that I think we all feel very comfortable.
Good.
And so I'm glad you decided to come on the show today.
Yeah.
We really appreciate that.
No problem.
And we wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you so much. And I'm a phone call away if you need anything. Residents can always call my office, call Barb for anything related to seniors. Make sure to call Barb. She's the subject matter expert on senior health and wellness and whatnot. So senior services.
Well, thank you,
Thank
Mayor
you so much,
Londeau.
Barb.
And thank you for being with us today. I'm Barbara Marcum, and this is Friendship Focus.